Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 10, Episode 76. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us this Wednesday, Steelers Nation. Dave, I think we have the same weather, which is not all too common for Vegas versus Pittsburgh, but it's a little chilly out west today, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's been the last couple of days, been freezing my behind off out here. Get that wind coming in. Most of it seems to be wind related, coming in through the valley and whatnot. But yeah, it is absolutely chilly out here. I had woke up, had an interesting dream last night, and I don't know what triggered or what. I have a feeling I know what triggered it because I was reading and a little something about it. But and I'm not one that sleeps a lot or has a lot of dreams, so when I have them, they're kind of memorable. I had a dream that Mike Pouncey joined the Steelers, and it seemed so real. And as soon as I hopped up out of bed, I thought, man, what kind of triggered that? And I recently, last couple of days ago, was reading just something on a tidbit on Mike Pouncey and him coming off of that neck injury and all like that. So a part of me started to wonder and fathom, boy, would it even be possible if Mike Pouncey joined his brother Maurkice out in Pittsburgh? And look, first and foremost, before I get any emails on that, Mike Pouncey is under contract with the Chargers for 2020, and I think it's somewhere around the lines of $6 million. Now, obviously, Pouncey's coming off of that neck surgery that cost him the season, so it'll be interesting to see if Mike Pouncey, if they hold on to him this offseason. I don't think the Chargers are crunched, incredibly bad for cap space, especially, letting Phillip Rivers ride off into the sunset and all like that. But still, with his with Pouncey's injury history and all, coming off kind of a serious neck injury, and I even remember watching a video saying, a couple weeks after he had that surgery, that he was on track and still hoping to come back and play in 2020, and I think this was at the end of December there. And then I even started to think, well, what if the Chargers parted ways with Mike Pouncey? And but even so, the Steelers are so cap crunched, and even if they sign Pouncey to a couple year deal, with a 30% rule the way it is right now, barring the CBA, it would still be a pipe dream, I think, at that point. So I'm not really sure what kind of triggered that. It would be kind of cool if it did work out that way. Of course, Mike Pouncey would have to play guard, something that he did way back in college at Florida there. But it would kill a couple birds with a stone. There. But I found that interesting. I figured I'd let the listeners in on even I have crazy free agency dreams at times.
Well, a lot of wives have worries that their men are dreaming of other women. You dream of Mike Pouncey's.
There you go. Call it what you will.
All safe there. All right, we'll see if that's more of a prophecy sometime down the line. But to the news of the day, not a whole lot going on here for early February post-Super Bowl. A little bit of Steelers news. According to Ron Cook of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Ben Roethlisberger will meet doctors in California on February 21st for his kind of rehab and check-in to kind of get a map for his rehab prognosis and off-season plan. His hope and goal is to be clear to do some light throwing, tennis balls, and small objects like that, and still with the goal of throwing during the offseason program and, of course, during training camp. So that's the date, February 21st with Ben, and I imagine we'll get some sort of news out of that, and hopefully it's all positive.
Yeah, and I think the last time we left off was Mike Tomlin kind of saying, that somewhere around the 1st of February, he thought that he says, I know that he's due for an update somewhere around the 1st of February. Still don't know if that's an update ahead of this other update or not. Mike Tomlin went on to say a checkup that will be probably significant in terms of mapping out what's next, but that's a moving target, that date. And of course, he said that I think at the end of December during his kind of end of the season press conference, if you will. So at least now we kind of have, at least we think we know February 21st will kind of be a significant date with Ben Roethlisberger. The thing about that too is that comes a couple of days, I think, before they report to the combine. The Steelers do this year, and obviously Kevin Colbert likes to, is the one that represents the Steelers during those kind of opening round of executive coach / front office press conferences that they do every year, and usually Colbert speaks for about 15-18 minutes, somewhere along those lines, and answers questions about not only the combine but Steelers related questions as well too. So I would imagine and would hope that Kevin Colbert would be asked about how, the progress of Roethlisberger when he does meet the media in Indianapolis for the combine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think even there's a chance that the team will put out a statement on the 21st or the 22nd, or Roethlisberger's camp will put us a short statement that will just kind of say that things look good. Hopefully things really look good, and that he's on the right track. So I think there's a chance we actually hear about the news from that meeting and checkup right around the 21st or 22nd, and then of course Club will be asked about that during the combine.
Yeah, and didn't Ben say that he would shave that beard once he starts throwing? I don't know if that included throwing tennis balls or whatnot, but
his wife will probably say that's good enough.
Yeah, I bet he's looking kind of burly about right now.
Absolutely. All right, so 21st will be the date for Ben. We'll have to check back in when the time comes, and hopefully we learn some information on Ben's future. And again, fingers crossed for good news there. I expect good news to come out of that checkup. All right, Dave, I have an article today. Just want to talk about really briefly James Washington. We talk about the receiver position, and, do you need more speed? Do you need more vertical threat? And listen, I'm never going to be opposed to the idea of adding more playmakers and speed and downfield threats to any offense, regardless of what you have. But I do want to put in perspective that James Washington, despite this offense obviously being just terrible all year long, Washington had, I think, a really strong season, especially vertically. I think the thing we forget about with him is he averaged almost 17 yards per catch, and that's seventh of any Steelers receiver with at least 40 receptions since 2000. So a really strong year for him, and I think he kind of showed that he can be a vertical threat, and obviously showed he can be an asset in a year that was huge for him, coming off that really poor and quiet rookie year.
Yeah, absolutely, and that number would probably surprise a lot of people there. That 16.7 that you have in there, obviously not a ton of yak, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he was a vertical guy. I mean, it wasn't short to long; it was just
right.
making those plays downfield to begin with.
Right. So obviously now with him going into what would be, I guess, his third season now, you have those other weapons, surrounding him. Hopefully, a fully healthy Juju. Obviously, a Deontay Johnson in his second season, coming off of a rookie season that included him leading the NFL, leading all rookies in receptions.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly didn't see that coming. Of course, Dante Moncrief helped facilitate help facilitate that, but I don't. Top to bottom, when you look at his play and the way he finished and all like that, it's hard not to be happy with the rookie season of Deontay Johnson. And as you point out here in the post, James Washington did take that next step in his progression after kind of disappointing rookie season. At least it ended well for him in his rookie season.
And I think the thing with Washington we kind of lose track of is because he's not that conventional burner. He doesn't run a 4.35. He's not a Mike Wallace type. But you can be a vertical threat in different ways, and he wins by someone that's good with his routes and competitive at the catch point and strong and physical with a really solid pair of hands. So I think he kind of gets dinged for not being as big a vertical threat because he isn't that flyer that's just simply outrunning guys. But you look at the numbers in college, average like 20 yards per catch, 17 yards this year. I mean, this dude's proven at every level he can be a downfield asset.
Right.
All right, Dave. Where do you want to go from here? I just wanted to make that note on James Washington. We have a mock draft from Scott Pavelle. I think his second, I believe, of draft season, and we'll kind of recap that. It came out the other day on Steelers Depot. This one, Scott does things a little bit differently than maybe some of our others, but I kind of like the different perspective. He's got a trade, hypothetically, in his first mock draft with Green Bay, with the Steelers moving down and getting other picks. And I just want to say off the top, I think that's really smart because and we've talked about it briefly, but I think when the time comes, and you can't do anything probably until the time comes, trading down may be the Steelers' best option at 49 to pick up another pick, be able to address another hole. You only have 6 draft picks. You won't be able to do much in free agency to fill some of those needs like you could last year. So I think trading down, acquiring an extra pick might be the way to go at pick number 49.
Yeah, and obviously it's next to impossible to predict not only mock drafts but mock trades, if you will, on top of it. And look, I was asked during a radio interview on Tuesday if I thought there was a chance that the Steelers, somehow managed to find a way to get back in the first round, and just the draft capital it would cost, it just prohibitive. You want to talk about a huge shock? It would be them trading back into the first round, in any scenario, because such a scenario too would likely include the Steelers having to give up 2021 draft pick, on top of it, and it just doesn't seem likely. So, look, I mean, if they got in the spot there and they could go down a couple of spots and still get a selection of, 2-3 players that they thought they could get by picking up a pick, that's more fathomable, I think, than it would be them trading back into the first round or trading up, period.
Right. So with Scott's first pick, and I want to make sure I have this right because he's got a lot going on here. Does he have Adam Trotman going or Damian Lewis? Do you have his mock pulled up by chance, Dave?
Let's see. He's got 217. Looks like at 224, I think, right?
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So he's got Adam Trotman going with that first pick in that trade down, the tight end from Dayton, and a guy that I think boosted his stock as much as anybody at the Senior Bowl. I guess the big question is will the Steelers dip into that small school pool even with their second-round pick? Historically, they have not.
Yeah, and plus Troutman's a little bit older too. Not that it's a huge concern, being as how you're dealing with a guy not on a fifth-year option, or maybe it is a big concern there. But he is a little bit older, right?
Is he? I'm also not sure how old he is.
I thought I asked for a birthday on Troutman, and I thought somebody. I just remembered it looking a little bit older than normal.
I mean, he's obviously a senior, so he's obviously, Steelers. He's probably a little older based off of that alone. When the Steelers typically go underclassmen, so I assume that's correct. I just don't know if he's older than typical senior or just like 22, 23 for general senior age.
Yeah, I forgot to. I didn't know we were going. Let me see if I can search it out. Let's see if I can pull it up on Twitter real quick here. I thought somebody. Let's see. He turned 20 in 2017. Actually, I think today is his birthday. Believe it or not.
Really? How about that? So he's 23 today.
So he turned. Let's see if he was 20 in 2017. Let me slide off my shoes here. Yeah, that would make him 23 today.
Yeah, so a little bit older. Obviously, Steelers have gone underclassmen heavy when it comes to the first round, second round. I'm not entirely sure where that's been. It's probably been more of a mixed bag. So there'd be some history fighting against it. But on paper, if you just take away the jersey and the age, I mean, he's a definite fit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just us. We try to go through all the boxes and history and all like that. But I mean, look, we're dealing with something that you and I have never dealt with in our lifetime, and that's the Steelers not having a first round, or I guess in my lifetime it happened once, but I was
You weren't blogging back in '67, I don't think.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was the ripe old age of 1. No, wait. No, I was born in '68, so no, it didn't happen then.
No,
it was the year before I was born there. But look, I mean, it's no mistake that Trotman is. At least at this point where I'm at, top 3 tight end in this class, probably the top 1. If you're talking about all around tight end types there. So I guess the only question is did they see enough at the Senior Bowl to know that this is a kid that can stand up against prime competition, and and what I saw from the practices and all, it looks like he can, and definitely looks like a good kid, good character obviously, and the blocking I think is pretty evident on his tape as well too. So that pick would probably make a lot of people happy if something like that was to come to fruition, especially if the Steelers were to be able to trade down to get him.
Yeah, it would be almost an ideal scenario, I think. So that's the pick there. The next pick he has, also from Green Bay in the trade, guard Damian Lewis from LSU, who I raved about during Senior Bowl week. Thought he had one of the best weeks not only for an offensive lineman, but just one of the best weeks for any player, period. And someone that I think could give great depth. And in a world where Foster and Finney are gone, and they had a compelling reason to keep Fowler at right tackle, then Lewis, I think he, in theory at least, could slide into the left guard. But either way, a really solid pick here.
Yeah, I think the only kind of drawback it would kind of be his height.
He's what, 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'2", and I think traditionally the Steelers like those guys, either 6'4" or almost 6'4", right around in there when it comes to guard.
How tall is the Castro? Is he 6'5"?
He's got some pretty good
he's
size
big.
to him.
He's a bigger guy. He's not 6'2". I just want to get he's 6. He's listed in Wikipedia at least. He's 6. He came in basically 6'5", 316 at the combine. So yeah, him, Foster. They like their guards. At least when they draft, they like those guys pretty big.
Right. So that would be the only kind of off course kind of development when it comes to a pick like that.
Yeah, he does have good length though. He's got almost 33.5-inch arms for 6'2" is pretty impressive, but point taken there. But a good player though, again, just really impressive player and had a great week down in Mobile. With the comp pick he has for this one, he's got safety Jordan Fuller from Ohio State. Safety, Buckeye. Again, that one makes a lot of sense.
What do you know about Jordan Fuller?
Not a whole lot. This is what Scott wrote on him. I'll read it off here. Quote, a very plus athlete who often played single high in college, but has the size to drop into the box and run sport too. Likely to be a big riser at the combine because scheme limited his state, but Ohio State asked him to be an eraser rather than a flashier playmaker. So, I mean, that works for me. I've talked about how important the need for addressing safety depth is and how it's kind of one of those overlooked positions. When we talk about needs of the team, this is one of them.
I have not watched a lot on him, so he'll definitely be on my list here, and I would imagine he's going to be a combine invite on top of it.
Yeah, I assume so, and I think all the combine invites have basically gone out. I don't know if there's a list anywhere on that, but we should find out pretty soon because it's the 27th, I believe, is day one of the combine. So
yeah, prime time this time. A little bit change in schedule for you and I. Probably some later nights instead of some early mornings here.
That's my speed. I'd rather, because getting up early for that combine was a little rough for me. So
I liked it the other way. I liked waking up, getting that coffee going, and turning around and them guys running on my screen.
You bad man. All right, with Scott's fourth round pick here, he's got back to the Senior Bowl wide receiver Antonio Gandy Golden from Liberty. So a lot of small school here. He's really sticking his neck out in terms of the Steelers dipping into the sub Division I level here. But Gandy Golden, I thought had a good week at the Senior Bowl. His releases are really impressive for a big guy. He moves pretty fluidly. He gets off the line well. He can beat press coverage. That's impressive. He can obviously be kind of that big downfield, classic Roethlisberger, big target we always talk about. So that's the pick there, Antonio Gandy Golden.
Yeah, almost a couple of cheeseburgers away from being a tight end, right?
Yeah, I mean he's a big body for sure.
Big kid. I think I even tweeted at you at one point during one of the practices or something on him. Another small school kid though, which I mean, if you already had Troutman in there, it would kind of be really unorthodox, I think, when it comes to the Steelers if they were to ultimately go that route.
Did you get a feel for him during Senior Bowl when you watched him through the tape, and did you kind of get any sort of feel for how you like him as a player?
Just only I haven't obviously looked at there's not a lot of Liberty tape out there. I think there's some highlights out there, but just he's quicker than what he looks like he would be, but still not a not a world class sprinter by any stretch of the imagination. Isn't he the one that has got a little bit of basketball background to him? Trying to remember if I read something.
Imagine apparently he's a bowler. He bowled 300 once, and he was gymnastics. It was actually what he was known for, gymnastics growing up. So yeah, really impressive athlete. Maybe not in terms of the straight line speed, but just overall mobility, agility, and just a more fluid player than a guy that you would expect at 6'3", 222.
Probably round 4, a little bit early for him.
Yeah, I think in a deep receiver class, these receivers get pushed down so much, so maybe that's a tad early, but not terribly. So it's so hard to try to predict when we're
Right.
getting into day 3, but maybe just a little bit early.
All right.
All right, with the other fourth round pick, I think this is going to be in a lot of Steelers mocks. It was in mine. Devon Hamilton's the no stack from Ohio State. We've talked about him before. Just kind of more of a classic plugger, but not a immobile. I mean, the guy can move a little bit. He can get penetration. His power on his bull rush. So Devon Hamilton, no stack from Ohio State, fills the need of the assumption Javon Hargrave is gone. Again, makes a lot of sense.
Right. Going to be interesting. Like you said, I think, and I've tried to start trying to format up a little bit of a rough first mock draft myself, and it's hard not to put Hamilton in that thing round 4 or 5, 4 or 5, right around in there.
With the 6th round pick, this is a guy I honestly don't know really anything about. Mohamed Barry, inside linebacker from Nebraska, 6'1", 245. Scott says he's described as having a phenomenal motor, very good speed for a buck linebacker, serious hitting power, and even the ability to move in space. The issue is lack of length, and the corresponding problem is that he doesn't get off blocks. Pittsburgh would ask him to blow blockers up more than get free to roam, and that is also a learnable skill. Could be one to watch. So don't know much about him. Obviously, Mark Barron's gone. Tyler Matakevich had to be a free agent. Don't know what's going to happen there. So it is possible that the team goes back to the inside linebacker well.
Yeah, look, I mean, we think we know a little, enough about Ulysses Gilbert to be dangerous right now, but was obviously limited to special teams before he got injured last year. It's a shame, those it would have been even better even had he not played any on defense throughout the season, had he at least stayed healthy to be, been part of those practices, obviously get more special teams experience there as well too. But I don't think it'll set him back too terribly bad as long as it was a back issue with Gilbert, right?
Back injury.
As long as that's not chronic or lingering or anything along those lines when it comes to him. Look, I mean, Vince Williams is going to be another year older. You have an overall unknown commodity still in Gilbert. We'll have to see what happens. The only way Matakevich comes back is on a minimum deal, really. Because
is there any way he can get more than that and still come back?
Man,
slightly above.
I guess if it's slightly above, but I mean it's not going to be too too much above minimum. I suppose you could do a 2-year deal and get him right there anyway by with a small signing bonus or whatnot. But I don't think it's I think Danny Smith would probably like to have him back.
Because I mean he's worth more than minimum. Like he's played well. I mean I'm not saying he's going to get paid a lot, but I think he's worth more than just minimum.
Yeah, and that's my concern is he will be worth more than minimum to another team out there.
Right,
I mean, look at what a guy like L.J. Fort, obviously more athletic, more of a I guess plus as a an inside line or an off the ball linebacker that can cover space, and he even though it was for half a season, he got paid a little bit more than I expected there. So, but when you look at the plus, and obviously L.J. Fort was a plus special teams contributor as well. So. I think it's 50-50 on Matakevich, but even if you did bring it back, it still doesn't prevent you from addressing the position overall. We talked about the other who was the other kid, the tackling machine.
Spillane?
Yeah, no, at the Senior Bowl. The other linebacker.
Evan Weaver.
Yeah, Evan Weaver out of Cal. Is another one. So, if they did go inside linebacker, off the ball linebacker later in this draft, it would be kind of that kind of player, a guy that would fit in on special teams too.
Yeah, I'll spoil it now. If Tyler Matakevich becomes a free agent, signs elsewhere, I'm putting Evan Weaver in every single one of my mock drafts in the 7th round because he just fits so perfectly. Daniel Valente has a good interview with Weaver. You can find on Steelers Depot from yesterday as well.
Yeah, immediately when they started talking about that dude during the Senior Bowl practices and the kind of player he is and the amount of total tackles that he had, you immediately go back and say, oh man, that really sounds like a Tyler Matakevich type. If you will. So, yeah, look, I mean, I don't think you can slam dunk say that the Steelers won't dress an off the ball linebacker or an edge for that
Right.
matter.
Yep.
At some point, I mean, there's so many different directions they could possibly go, and in this draft with the current amount of selections that they have, and even in adding one more the way Scott has in this draft, you could still use another pick or two probably.
Absolutely. And then to round things out, I like this pick a lot in the 7th round. Scott kind of admits it. This guy may go higher, but he may not. You never know. John Runyon Jr. makes you feel old. Obviously, John Runyon played with the Eagles for a long time in the NFL. His kid went to Michigan, apparently very versatile, can even long snap, played left tackle, played guard in the Shrine Bowl. So there's some versatility there. And again, that classic round out the offensive line depth with John Runyon with the final pick.
Yeah, look, this is a guy I know a little bit about, even because of during the East-West Shrine game, I made sure to kind of keep an eye on him, and I think they had an interview with him and his dad, and then I immediately hit the tape on him. You could do worse if you got John Runyon Jr. in the 7th round of the draft, I think. They obviously play. I think he predominantly played tackle, at least the last couple of years, I think, at Michigan there. Ideally, he's going to be a guard at the next level, and probably even ideally a left guard at that. But with the versatility of him and his ability to maybe play, he's very Matt Filer-ish, if you will.
Okay.
I think. Now I don't think there's a lot of him on the move or whatnot, pulling or whatnot, but definitely John Runyon Jr. was a guy that caught my eye during the East-West Shrine game, and it'll be interesting to see how he tests at the combine when it comes to the lateral, agility and kind of the triangle drill stuff and all like that. If he has if he puts up some decent numbers there, you got the bloodline going on there with him. You got a guy that I think is a little easier to project, kicking inside from tackle to guard there, and as you point out, he's got a little bit of a center experience there as well, and his football IQ ought to be pretty good as well too.
Yeah, so there is Scott's mock. One last thing I wanted to note with that, going back to the Trotman pick, I wrote an article, and I'm not going to delve all into it because I've talked about a lot of this in regards to the tight end position and Vance McDonald, but it's kind of crazy to look at the lack of investment in tight end this team has had since 2009, basically. I mean, they drafted Space in 2008, they drafted Heath in, 2005, right? 2005 with Heath in the first round. But they really have not invested in the position heavily since then. Here are the tight ends they've drafted since 2009, and here's the round they were taken in. 2009, David Johnson, 7th round. 2012, David Paulson, 7th round. 2014, Rob Blanchflower, 7th round. 2015, Jesse James, 5th round. 2019, Zach Gentry, 5th round. They're the only team in football over that time span, 09 to present day, to not use at least a 4th round pick on a tight end, and 30 teams have used at least a 3rd round pick on a tight end. Carolina being the only exception. They have a 4th round pick, and I believe Ian Thomas 2 years ago. So the lack of investment in tight end is really strange for this team, and I think this really is the year to make that heavy investment long term into the draft, into the position.
Boy, Blanchflower, if only that kid could have stayed healthy.
You've said that every single time you've ever talked about Rob Blanchflower. That's going to be on your tombstone or something.
There was a little something to him coming out of UMass.
Yeah,
I don't. It's been so long ago. I don't want to say he was the that year's there's Troutman, because far from it, because obviously being a late round guy, but when you looked at his tape, at least what was available at the time, he was an impressive guy, but problem was, I think, wasn't he the one that had the hernia surgery and was unable to, I think, either do the combine or the pro day or both because of that, and then obviously getting just little nicks here and there, I think, in starting in camp, and he just never could stay healthy,
Yeah. Isn't that crazy, though, that lack of investment? 3 7th-round picks and 2 5th-round picks in the position since basically in the last decade plus. For a team that's always valued tight ends highly, that's a little strange.
Yeah, it is, and look, I mean, we'll see we'll find out what's going to definitely at least happen with Vance McDonald past the start of the new league year. We've talked about that several times already. We'll get a better indication, at least how they feel about him up until the draft. Look, and I've said this several times. If you can find a way to keep McDonald at least, past March 18th, you still, you're not totally married to him,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand. And to be clear, I know that to replace guys like Heath and to address the position, they've done things like try to sign Darius Green and trade for Vance McDonald and stuff like that. So they've obviously tried to, have investments in the position, but to middling and mixed results. So I think that kind of signals let's go back to the draft. Let's go back to the quote-unquote Steelers way of building your rosters through the draft with long-term options. This is the year to make the kind of heavy investment in the position.
And look, if you're going to do it, you better do it. You better do it right there, and with that second round pick. I have a feeling,
Yeah, or I like to see it second or with that third round comp pick. Somewhere in the top 3 rounds would be ideal for me.
And we think they will, right?
I think there's a good chance. It just depends on how things go. Again, I'd be advocating for trying to trade out of 49, move back to maybe 10, 15 spots, pick up another pick, gives you some more options, use a tight end with some of those additional draft capital. We'll see. But I think certainly it's as good a favorite as any position to be taken within the first 2 rounds, or first 2 selections.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, Dave, speaking of mock drafts, NFL.com had a mock draft. Let me pull it up. Probably not our favorite. There was a 3-round mock, and obviously not a whole lot of mocks that go even 2 rounds. So anytime we kind of get something to write about in terms of mock drafts, we're going to take advantage with the Steelers' second-round pick at number 49 in the NFL.com mock draft. They have the Steelers taking Leki Fotu, Utah defensive tackle. Don't know a ton about him, though he's a big body in the middle. That one, all things considered, isn't the worst selection to mock Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but it's not the best either,
No.
in my eyes. And look, this is a big kid, 6'5" and 3/8" at the Senior Bowl, 337 pounds. He did not participate in the practices or the Senior Bowl game due to, I think he had a slight tear in a calf or something like that he had aggravated or something like that. Played a ton of games at Utah, 45 games in total, 85 total tackles, only 4.5 sacks. 3 defense pass. I think the big knock on him, at least what I'm kind of reading and obviously looked at a little bit of his tape from last year, but Pro Football Focus is why didn't this guy ever, why didn't he seemingly get better? I think it was kind of the knock on him, and I think the thing that stuck out more than anything was he never logged more than 60% of all defensive snaps in a single season. There. And if you're going to draft, a defensive tackle or a defensive lineman, if the Steelers are in the first 3 rounds, or at least in the first, in that second round pick, you're going to want a guy, I think that's going to be on the field quite a bit. And to have just kind of a sub package player, if you will. That's quite a heavy investment to put into a player that probably isn't going to give you any more than 50% of the snaps in a single season at the NFL level.
Right. If you're going to draft that type of guy, you probably want to draft him in the later rounds, so you can have someone with a top pick, obviously, that's going to play a lot, like you said. So I'm not saying if you get a nose tackle that can do it all, but if you want to get that kind of more niche type, kind of the classic plugger, you probably want to wait on that as opposed to investing in that super early in the draft.
And after watching him a little bit, I think the second round's rich across the board for him anyway.
Okay.
Really, I view him more as a 4th or 5th round guy, more than I do a second round guy. So I don't think NFL.com really dove too deep into some of these players. And look, they put them out because people like us eat them up, especially when we're not going to be part of writing about a lot of mock drafts in the early stage here, because obviously the Steelers don't have a first round pick. So I'm not a huge fan of that selection for the Steelers in the second round at 49th overall.
And I'm guessing you're not going to like the next one any better, where they have the Steelers taking Jalen Hurts, the Oklahoma-Alabama quarterback, at 104, their projection in the third round with the comp pick. And let's just say, nope, that's not going to happen. The national media is going to talk about quarterback this whole offseason with the Steelers and mocking them quarterbacks. Not going to happen. So just Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave, and just move on because it's not going to happen.
Boy, there's a portion of Steelers Twitter that likes it, though,
Yep.
But I just don't see it, especially not with a guy like Jay. Look, some teams going to obviously draft him. I'm still not sure. I agree with him being a second or third round guy. I would imagine you don't either after seeing him at the Senior Bowl, right?
I think he's maybe in that third round conversation as that kind of next tier behind those top guys like obviously Burrow, Herbert, and Jordan Love. I get a Deshaun Watson kind of feeling, maybe not quite to that level, but as a third round pick, I mean, I could buy it.
I don't see the arm strength with him though, as a when you compare it to a Deshaun Watson or something.
Yeah, again, I said lesser, but just in terms of a lot of it is just kind of off the field feel, where he's a leader, he's someone that rallies, makes players around him better, a winner, a really just a likable guy, but talented too on the football field. Has some level of athleticism as well. So a lesser version of Deshaun Watson. Watson obviously a higher pick than Hurts. It's probably gonna end up being so. So I think third round is fair, but not to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, I'm going to be shocked if this team drafts a quarterback, period.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's where I'm at. I mean, the Steelers have said that Mason's the backup. Ben's still here for, assuming that all goes well with him. You've got him for the next 2 years at least. Quarterback's not going to be in play for this team right now.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, so that's the mock draft with what do we got here? Fotu at 49 and Hurts at in the third round with the comp pick. So not
they could have done a lot better, couldn't they?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, look, throw any tight end up in there in the first 2 rounds. I mean, in the second round or in either one of those two picks, the mock draft becomes instantly better by 110%. I think at that point.
Absolutely. All right, Dave. One other Steelers-related note I should have hit near the top of the show, but I do want to make mention of the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to play back-to-back games in London next year for the first time ever, but the Steelers will not be part of one of those games. The Steelers do have a game on the road with Jacksonville this year, but it won't be a London game. They will be in Jacksonville for that game. So just to be clear, Steelers not having to go to London, and based on players' reactions I saw on Twitter, they're very happy about that.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a huge surprise because the Steelers have been more lobbying for a game in Mexico than London. That makes a lot of sense there.
Which they should, yeah, they should be playing in Mexico this year or next year.
This year or next year, I think the only. Look, we'll find out sooner rather than later, I think. But I think it's starting to sound a little bit more likely that it will be that it'll potentially be next year. I mean, what would who would it wouldn't be a divisional game, obviously, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know who the opponent's going to be. I know we kind of went through that briefly a couple podcasts ago. I have no idea who the opponent will be, but it's not going to be divisional.
And I believe it would be a road game too. I just find it hard to believe that that the Steelers would sacrifice a home game to to play in Mexico. So when you start doing the math, you start weeding out who their opponents are, and then obviously you can strike Jacksonville off of that list now because that game will be played in Jacksonville. I think Jerry Jones would, as big of a draw as it would be to have Steelers versus Cowboys in Mexico, huge draw. I still, boy, would Jerry be willing to give up such a game? To be played in Dallas?
That's a tough sell. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I would be surprised as well, too. So I guess that kind of leaves, I don't know, Tennessee. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, look, the Steelers will draw, obviously, but I mean, if you're looking for, an opponent on the other side to draw, I think that's kind of hard to do. Obviously looking ahead potentially to next year's, to 2021, I should say, and the list of early, kind of known opponents. I guess we're still potentially have a 17th game. That's going to be. Do you like any aspect of that?
No,
I don't either. No. But evidently, we better get ourselves ready to like it. It sounds like that's going to be not surprising, a big pushing point when it comes to this new CBA is 17. I don't like any aspect of it. I think it's stupid because you have these guys can't even stay healthy for 16 games,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
now you're going to add another game on that. I just find that ridiculous. But anyway, look, I think last year at the same time we already knew who what the international games were going to be. So are they going to make us wait until April? I mean, you would think for travel and all like that, they'd get the dates out on these international games sooner rather than later. So who knows? But obviously the Steelers won't. At least we don't think they'll be playing in London this year.
And what are your thoughts with Jacksonville basically just becoming a quasi-London team, playing back-to-back games over there? I mean, either move the franchise there or don't. It's a weird in-between for the NFL.
Yeah, and look, it's not going to end well with them. I don't think. There was a lot of way back when Jacksonville got the franchise, wondering, could they support it long-term kind of deal. And I don't know if you've ever been to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's such a spread out city. You obviously have the military base there, and not much going on military bases right now, Navy bases right now, and I know that coming from Pensacola, where pretty much NAS Pensacola's, unless you're going out there to go to the Naval Air Museum out there. Obviously they still have some aspects of the flight school out there, but these bases weren't what they were 20 years ago. And really, to me, Jacksonville's just not a. Me and my wife were talking about this the other day. What on earth would drive one to go to Jacksonville? And there's not a lot. Look, they haven't had obviously a lot to cheer about in Jacksonville the last several years. I'm sure there's a lot of mad diehard fans there that hate to see these games go overseas, and now you're going to give back-to-back games overseas on top of it. It really makes you wonder how many years we are away from Jacksonville relocating to London, because it sure looks like they're trying to I don't want to say force that team on London, but I mean London sure has seemed to have adopted them better anyway. Makes you wonder how much longer the Jaguars are long for Jacksonville.
Yeah, and at this rate, you're just going to piss off your fan base, and they already have. And I think they only reduced season ticket prices by, I believe, 5%, despite losing 2 games. So, I mean, that's only going to hurt the fan base more and just kind of make them more and more likely to go overseas. But I will say, going to London, I read an article. I got to find it because it was a really good article. They kind of talked about all the logistics that have to be taken care of to making that trip, and it is a nightmare, and that's why players hate it, and I think teams and equipment managers and medical personnel probably hate it more, because it is a just logistical nightmare in every sense trying to make that trip work.
And look, I'm not surprised that they said no. We're not going to play. They need a draw in Jacksonville, at least one of their home games, and the Steelers will definitely bring them out there. You want to talk about? You can have a repeat of what you had happen out in L.A. this past season, because I have a feeling that Steelers fans will more than take over that stadium in Jacksonville. Now the only question becomes when will that game be played, and obviously if the Jaguars are going to play back-to-back games in London. Those will probably take place somewhere in October. So, throw a dart. Will the game be early, first couple weeks of the season? Say in September there in Jacksonville, or when after the weather starts changing. Hopefully it's the latter, because I'm not too fond of the Steelers having to play a Sunday afternoon game right there in September in Jacksonville because of the heat and humidity and all.
Right, rather get away towards winter time when you can get away from the cold for 1 week and have some decent Florida weather, maybe the 60s. Yeah, we'll see. We'll let you know on that. But again, Steelers will not be playing in London, and I'm happy with that. And we'll see if they get a game in Mexico in 2020 or 2021. I'm kind of with you. I'm leaning towards it happening probably more next year than it would happen this year.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, and the only reason I say probably better next year, just looking at the list of opponents. So that really means nothing overall.
Yeah. And that'll be announced, within about 45 days from now? They'll announce the 2020 Mexico games, I believe.
I would look, like I said, I think last year at this time, I think we already knew them. You know,
Okay. Wasn't there a report like a week or two ago? They said within 2 months they'll announce the games. That's just kind of what I'm working
well,
off of.
usually the schedule release happens in April anyway, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so obviously before then.
Right. So we should know fairly quick, I would think.
We'll keep you posted. All right, Dave. Last thing I wanted to talk about, what kind of combines things, but before the Senior Bowl stuff, we kind of went through some positional reviews, position by position. I think we completed the offense. I don't believe we've gotten to the defense yet, so we'll look at the defensive line today and just kind of look at an overview of who's returning, who they're losing, what they could work through during the offseason and free agency and the draft. And obviously the big hole in the middle is going to be the likely assumed loss of Javon Hargrave. Can only really keep one of Bud Dupree or Hargrave. They're also going to keep Bud Dupree, so Hargrave will get paid, deservedly so, elsewhere on the open market. That creates a big vacant hole at nose tackle. How do you see this team trying to address it?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think I think it's a 50-50 chance, that they obviously do address the defensive tackle position at some point during the draft. More than likely after, I would think the likelihood of it being after that comp pick in the third round,
Is that with the goal to start that guy or to play behind McCullers?
Boy, that's $1 million. Look, I mean, the fact that well, there's some sort of chase broke out. Breaks.
Oh, at the Chiefs parade.
Yeah.
Pit maneuver successful. I liked it.
Love that. That's crazy. Man, that's absolutely
the
nuts.
Guy was drunk, they said, which makes sense if you're driving your car into a parade.
I'm sorry to get distracted there, but boy, it's going to be interesting to see what they do in McCullers here, because McCullers is a guy that has stuck around a couple years longer than I thought he would stick around. And look, he didn't play much last year, and obviously that's a good thing, because it means Hargrave stayed healthy, and obviously Alualu, help leave a couple of snaps in there as well. We fully expect Alualu to hang around. I would expect Daniel McCullers to at least hang around past the draft. But I do think you have to look forward, and especially with defensive tackle is going to be fairly deeper, I think, draft this year overall, especially with maybe the kind of the pluggers that the Steelers will want to look for and all. Probably not so much. They would be more of a run plugger than they obviously would pass rusher. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm not going to be surprised if they address a position. Let's put it to you that way. I'm not convinced it would be a longer guy. 4 or 5 tech, if you will. I think it would be more of a 6'1", 6'2", 320, 330 kind of guy.
Yeah, it's always hard to know the type. Obviously, you would love to get someone that could be Hargrave that could kind of do both. And those guys do exist, but you're going to have to probably invest that pick number 49 in the position, whether you're talking Ross Blacklock from TCU or Novelli Gallimore from Oklahoma. That's harder to obviously find those guys in the later rounds. So my suggestion, maybe you go with more of a classic plugger in the draft, and then the combination of Tuitt returning and Buggs taking a step forward kind of helps alleviate and replace what Hargrave gave you as a sub-package pass rusher. That might be the best way to go about it. I expect McCullers to be back. They're not going to lose both guys. Not going to willingly cut McCullers after losing Hargrave. He's stuck around this long. Really doesn't make sense to cut him now. In a year, you probably should keep him, at least in the camp and for depth and experience. But yeah, I mean, this team almost certainly will address the position in the draft. It's just a matter of who and where they're going to do that. It's probably going to be somewhere in the mid rounds.
Does a guy like Henry Mondo have a shot at the 53 this year?
He's not a nose tackle. I mean, I'm trying to think how much nose tackle he played in camp. A little bit, I think, but he really doesn't classically profile as that. So I think he's going to kind of be right there on the edge. And in terms of defensive end, unless he can kind of hop onto that final spot, but even then, I don't quite see the path. I mean, he'll compete, but I don't think he's going to really fit the bill at nose tackle.
All right. He had some impressive moments during the preseason
Hmm.
there.
He did. He did. Yeah, he'll be in there. I mean, we'll see what happens in year two. I mean, he's not a bad athlete, and but I just, I don't know exactly where he's going to fit and whose spot he could take because I just don't see him being that nose tackle, especially assuming a nose tackle gets drafted.
So we both agree there is a good chance that the Steelers address more of a defensive
Hmm.
tackle type.
Yeah, they need to because if they don't, I mean, you can't have Big Dan being the guy. I mean, you just can't do that for an entire season. This team has to know. Even for as much as they like Big Dan, they have to know that.
Well, I think both of us are of the school of thought though that they would have moved on from Dan a while ago anyway. But
Right.
I mean, Dan's not killing you as far as price goes, but you should be able to upgrade that this year.
Yeah, he's not killing you in price for the snap count he's playing, but if you ask him to play 500 snaps this year, he's going to kill you that way. He just can't defend him with his own schemes. He's not going to give you enough as a pass rusher. I mean, he'll be able to collapse the pocket a little bit against some poor center that's 6'1", just trying his best. But I mean, he's gotten better. I mean, he has played better the last 2 years. They've been his best 2 years, but they're still not starting material.
Where do you have Gallimore going right now?
I think he's going to run 4.8 something at the combine and may even go before the Steelers pick at 49. But if the Steelers want him, they're going to have to get him at 49 if he's there.
Okay, and I think we both agree that's probably unlikely to happen.
Yeah, but maybe. And then Blacklock from TCU, I need to learn more about him. But a guy that I think is interesting and kind of has a similar profile. All right, Dave. Anything else with the defensive line? I think most of the other guys are returning. Obviously, getting Stephon Tuitt back healthy will be huge. Alulu coming off one of his best years ever, certainly his best year as a Steeler. Isaiah Buggs. We're excited to see Buggs take a step forward in year two.
Absolutely, and I think really the only question is, at this point is if they do address the defensive line, more than likely going to be a defensive tackle type.
Mm-hmm. One other note with the defensive line, everyone article about this yesterday. I think the one coach that we don't talk about enough in just the whole Steelers community, when I say that, is Carl Dunbar. Like, he's done an amazing job to just fill the shoes of John Mitchell, who's been a legend, been with the Steelers since '94. He's basically been with the Pittsburgh Steelers my entire life. Still there as sort of serving as a off-field liaison for players. So he's still part of the organization, though he's not the D-line coach. So Dunbar filled those shoes and has improved really every single player. Whether you're talking to Lulu's big year, Tuitt's breakout year, Hargrave, great, these past 2 years is what's going to get him paid on the open market. Buggs looking strong, obviously Coach Buggs at Alabama. And also, he's worked with the outside linebackers pretty heavily. T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree, he works pretty closely because those guys are kind of defensive linemen for as much as they go forward. That's been the reports from beat writers. So Carl Dunbar has done an awesome job, and I want to give him credit for coming in and filling those big shoes of John Mitchell.
Yeah, absolutely. Dunbar's and look, he gives you a great link back to Alabama. On top of it, but it's been kind of seamless when it comes to and look, Mitchell was kind of old, hard, old school, right? And
Oh, yeah.
and I think Dunbar probably relates to today's NFL player a little better than probably John Mitchell did.
Yeah, no, he's got a softer touch, but the expectation is still super high. So, like a guy like Dan McCullers, I think he's played better under Dunbar because Dunbar kind of has that softer approach. And Big Dan's a teddy bear. I don't think really he meshed well with Mitchell's drill sergeant type ways. Now, Mitchell, it worked for a lot of guys. I mean, Mitchell's resume is legendary with Aaron Smith and Casey Hampton and Brett Kiesel and Cam Hayward, and the list goes on and on. But I think Dunbar, you're right, probably relates to the players a little bit better while still keeping that standard of play ultra high.
Are you surprised that here we are at this point? We still don't.
No way.
We still don't have a wide receiver coach.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. We'll see.
No way.
Don't know what's going on with that situation. I don't know how to react to it.
Yeah, look, we would think that that's going to go down here sooner rather than later. I thought it would have happened by now.
Yeah. Like I said, at the Senior Bowl, I reported that they were probably going to hire a receivers coach outside the organization, so not either retaining or promoting Ray Sherman or Blaine Stewart. Stewart's still on staff, and I'm not sure what Sherman's status is with the team right now. We'll see. Hopefully we hear something soon.
Yep. All right.
All right, I think that's everything we wanted to talk about. Am I missing something? Did I have stray note I can't read in my my notebook here? Did we miss any topic you wanted to get to?
I'm trying to go back through my head, see if we have. I think we hit everything, didn't we?
I believe so. If not, also back Friday to cover it. So let's get to some reader emails to close out the show.
Okay, let's start with, let's see here. Brett Nile, just wanted to hit on a couple points about the tight end position here. Did this just come in? Yeah, I think it did. Maybe he bumped this one up or something like that. Assuming they don't extend the CBA, if they can't retain McDonald and Vanette, do you think they might re-sign Grimble? No.
No.
No, I would be surprised if I think if Grimble gets signed to a team, it would be on a minimum deal here, and obviously no shot at him. You would think virtually no shot at him making a roster at this point. You're wasting a roster, spot on Grimble at this point. I think.
No. Well, one of McDonald or Vanette, or potentially both, will be on the roster heading into training camp. They're not going to lose both guys.
So that's number one. Could the Steelers double dip in the draft at tight end, one all-around guy and one blocking type? I obviously the easy answer to that would be to guess no, but I suppose they could do it. I mean, there's no law that says they couldn't, but I'd be very disappointed if they had to tie up 2 draft picks to do that. Look, let's not forget they obviously saw something in Gentry. Now, look, Gentry's going to have his work cut out to make the roster here, but boy, it sure would be disappointing for them to tie up 3 draft picks on a tight end, especially one later in the draft. In the last 2 years. So, I would bet right now that the odds of that happening would be low, them getting two tight ends in this year's draft.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I mean, double dipping, it's possible when you get into the 6th, 7th round. I mean, you're just trying to find talent. You're just trying to find guys that'll make your roster more competitive and better at the bottom. So you kind of throw the positions out the window to some extent. But assuming they keep at least one of McDonald or Vanette, you'll already have the presumed first tight end drafted. You'll have one of McDonald or Vanette. You'll have Gentry, and then theoretically Kevin Rader, Christian Scott, and Williamson. Probably not going to draft another one. You may bring another in as a UDFA. Unlikely to draft one, though.
Boy, I tell you, if Charlie Warner out of Georgia doesn't get drafted, that would be a nice UDFA to bring in. I think you're going to start hearing a little bit more about Warner out of Georgia here as time rolls on. Because look, overall, when it comes to all around tight ends, not a lot to write home about, I don't think, so far in this draft class. And Warner wasn't used a lot in that passing game at Georgia, but he's evidently got some soft hands and all. I really hope they invite that kid to the combine so we can learn a little bit more about him, see him go through some of those drills and all like that. So if you did double dip at tight end in this draft, I think you could do worse than maybe a Charlie Warner in the later rounds.
Is he projected to be drafted?
You just don't find, you don't see him in any of the top 10, top 15 lists, I don't think. So,
yeah.
And how many total tight ends are normally going to draft anyway? 12 or so?
I can get those numbers because I know where they're at. At least I think I know where they're at. But yeah, that sounds about right. It sounds like he's going to be pretty borderline. The combine invite would obviously be huge for him.
Yeah, and look, I think there's enough there with him that to deserve a combine invite.
Mm-hmm. The website I used to get that information about how many guys get drafted, I don't think shows it anymore. So I can't give you an exact number, at least not right now. But I just think of the last undrafted tight end that came in out of Georgia was Jay Rome. I remember Jay Rome lasting like 4 seconds in Pittsburgh, but obviously I'm not going to scout the helmet, so I don't know much about him, but I'll look into him for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, no guarantee he gets drafted, and if he does, it would probably be later on. But I think he's a guy that you're going to hear a little bit more about as the pre-draft process goes on.
And if they do double dip, that second guy may be more of an H-back type. They can kind of play fullback in a pinch. I mean, Rosie obviously still here, but you kind of felt a little bit of the loss that he, that without him in 2019. So I wonder if you kind of get more of a tight end traditional in some sense, and then kind of an H-back type if you want to go and double dip.
Let's see. Yeah, he writes about he's all going all in on tight end here. Brett now is, does Christian Scotland Williamson still have a European exemption for the practice squad again next year, essentially the 11th spot, or does he actually have to make the roster outright? I'm trying to remember. I know there was at least 2 years on that. I'll have to look and see if he were. I think part of him. Look, even if that rule, if that exemption stood, you would think it would be tied to him, just like last year. If he was on the practice squad to start the season, he has to stay there. He can't be promoted to the 53.
Right.
And that was the rule about last year with him. Once he was placed on the practice squad, he could not be elevated to the 53-man roster because you got a small level of competitive advantage there. So I don't know if he can stay on that a third year. I'll have to research that. I think it's kind of insignificant though, because I think this is going to be sink or swim year for Christian Scotland Williamson.
Yeah, I think so too.
Number 4, the Steelers are going to lose several players this offseason in free agency, and I think we'll get at least 2 comp picks if all goes well. Hargrave, Finney, possibly Sean Davis. I wouldn't count on much for Sean Davis in the way of compensatory draft formula. I don't think it's going to be enough to qualify in that top 32 there. Do you think they will trade a pick in next year's draft to get another pick to move up in this year's draft? I would be shocked if Colbert deals, definitely a mid-round or better pick from 2021 to move up anywhere in this year's draft.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more likely that if anything they need to move back, or they will move back, as opposed to trying to move back up.
Yeah, look, you're betting on things that you really don't even know the outcome of. I mean, it's probably going to be easy to predict what Hargrave might bring you in the way of compensatory value. But remember, this is compensatory value because it's all relegated on gains and losses anyway. Now, obviously, we don't expect the Steelers to have many, if any, significant gains during free agency this offseason, right? No Steven Nelson contracts, no Moncrief type contracts, if you will, to offset that. So basically, it should be what you lose. We hope, or at least we think, it's going to be easy to figure out. In other words, Hargrave, it's hard not to imagine this team getting a third round value for him. We'll have to see what happens with Finney. We tend to overrate our own sometimes, but I think maybe a 5th or 6th round value for Finney's maybe not out of the question.
Yeah, that's possible. It's hard to project, but again, I don't see this team as aggressive as Kevin Colbert's been, and probably will try to continue to be. I don't really see them moving up. They don't have the capital to do it. They got too many holes to fill. Unless it's a perfect situation, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't either. Let's see. I know I have another. Let's see. Matt Pella writes in, hey guys, with Shell, Cowher, and Polamalu getting in this year, and the Steelers possibly playing in the Hall of Fame game, I'm sure there'll be plenty of Steeler Nation in Canton this August. Can either of you or anyone out there provide any insider tips if you're planning on making a trip to the big event? I know the game is Thursday. Wait, is the Hall of Fame game? No, the Hall of Fame game normally isn't on Thursday, right?
I thought it was.
Is it?
I thought it was. I think it's Hall of Fame game on like Thursday, then the ceremony on that Saturday. Am I wrong on that?
Let me look. I thought it was. I didn't think. I'll have to double check here.
It was August 1st, the Hall of Fame game in 2019. Let's let's look up the 2019 calendar and see when August 1st was. Was that a Thursday?
It was a Thursday.
Yeah.
A Thursday. Yeah, and let's look back. Boy, how did that get? And then Thursday the year before that, I don't know why I always thought that was on a. Yeah, so it is on Thursday. There you go. You remember something new every day.
And he's asking about what? Just to give it.
He's asking about. Let's see. I know the game is on Thursday. There's an autograph session on Friday, and the ceremony will be on Saturday. Is it really worth it to go all 3 days? Boy, you're asking the wrong person here because I've never been to it, and I don't think Alex has been to that either. Look, if you're going to make and do remember that the Donnie Shell is going to be at a different date. All right. When it comes to his induction. Now, Cower and Palomala will be part of, the traditional one in Canton in August there. Look, if you're going to make a trip out of it, I'd make a trip out of it and do as much as you can. That would be my suggestion. When it comes to it, I mean, heck, you're talking about, probably once in a lifetime opportunity here, and to have, to be able to see Cower and Palomalo go in together, that'd be quite a trip there. So I don't know, Matt, what to tell you. Maybe a few of our listeners who have been to Canton during the Hall of Fame ceremony and all can provide some insight to us via email and all like that. If I get any of those emails, I'll try to remember to forward them on to you, Matt.
I do know that if you want to be there for like the whole 3 days or 4 days or whatever it is, it's very expensive. I looked briefly at ticket packages and they're like thousands of dollars. So just be prepared for that if you aren't expecting it. Is Donnie Shell going to be there during like the weekend? I know he's not going to be inducted, but will he at least be there during the whole festivities? I mean, I hope that he and those others would be in attendance.
I would hope so too, Alex. But I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice. I know he's not going to be there enshrined, but I mean, if he's going to be shunned out entirely of the whole thing, that's really going to kind of feel crappy if they push him back to September with some of the other Centennial guys. By the way, Dave, I just went to my Twitter timeline here, and I just saw on ESPN 32 off-season predictions, one for each team. For the Steelers, what is their offseason prediction? The Steelers will add a veteran quarterback to the roster. It's just like, maybe if it's some real low-level type guy, but even, again, national media continues to think this team's going to be adding veteran quarterbacks when the Steelers could not be any clearer about Mason Rudolph being their backup.
Look, if they add a veteran quarterback, it's going to be one. it's going to be very Byron Leftwich-like. Minimum salary kind of dude, and don't you really already have that in Paxton Lynch?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't even know what name. I mean, again, like a Trevor Siemian or a Blaine Garrett type might be that type of name, but yeah, it's basically the same as Paxton Lynch. It's not going to really move the needle, so what's the point?
Someone asked me yesterday, I think on Twitter, what do I think about Marcus Mariota, and what's my opinion on the Steelers adding him? I don't have one.
Too much. Much money.
Too much money. I don't think that's a route. Now, obviously, if something comes out about Ben and concerns about him, then we're in a different realm.
Mm-hmm.
But as things stand right now, and what we think that we know, or at least what's out there when it comes to Ben, they're not expecting any issues, with this. Now, will his arm strength be the same? Blah, blah, blah. Look, a lot of these things we're not going to know, and the team's probably not even going to know until later on in the summer there. But I think they're treating this whole off season, excuse me, as if Ben's going to be fine, and that Mason's going to be their number 2, and that Devlin Hodges and Paxton Lynch will compete to for that third and final spot.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, other than that, I don't know what to tell these people. I know people are already ready to throw Mason Rudolph on the trash pile. There's going to be a large selection that are going to insist on the Steelers drafting a quarterback in the second or third, second round, or with a compensatory pick in the third round. I don't see that happening, folks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised when that doesn't happen.
Daniel J. Devlin writes in, hello, Dave and Alex, love the show. Thought I'd hit on, and this was, I had missed this from January, so it's going to seem a little bit behind, but I had it starred, and I never got to it here. He says, Bryson Hopkins, love hearing your analysis on him. Going into the season, I thought he would be a third or fourth round possibility, although the light tight end class and his athleticism will bump him up in the draft. An impressive combine could vault Hopkins up. He could prove to be very sparky. Yeah, we'll see him. He definitely could be a guy that hits a lot of good marks when it comes to the combine. He goes on to write, his college production was less than I expected for his senior year. He had some drop issues, and his blocking left something to be desired. I think I said something along those lines recently as well, too. Although he could be a good fit with the Steelers since he had 3 quarterbacks complete passes to him last year. I think that's another thing I highlighted. Quarterback play last year at Purdue was not great. The line play at Purdue was really poor last year, so junior year may be a better representation of his ability. Also, his dad may be able to assist, as I believe he was all-pro a few times with the Titans. He did exhibit leadership and work ethic for young, decimated Boiler team. I think if the Steelers want him, they will have to use their second-round choice to get him. Thoughts? I think you've seen, since you sent this email in, I think Alex had him, didn't you mock him second round, Alex?
I did, number 49, yeah. Unless they were to trade back to think he's going to be there at pick, 104, 100 with that comp pick. Is it possible? Sure, because his tight end group is so jumbled up, but it's hard to really bank on it.
I mean, I think he's definitely a guy that's going to be in the conversation there. You know,
Yeah.
I'm obviously not as high on him as Alex is, but I think it's a distinct possibility that he's going to be in their sights potentially, especially if he's still there on in the second round.
Yeah, I agree.
He goes on to write, Matt Canada seems to be a very nice pickup. I love the idea of a quarterback coach with running game oversight duties. Interesting item with regard to potential relationship with Ben. I believe Canada was at IU as OC or offensive coach under Terry Hopner. God rest his soul, who coached Ben at Miami, and I believe maintained a very strong relationship with Ben until his death. This may provide some additional credibility for Canada. Yeah, I mean, look, there was some level of familiarity, obviously, with Canada in his time at Pitt. I don't know how strong the link was between Canada and Ben through the late Terry Hopner and all. But look, I mean, you try to draw as many straight lines as you can, right?
Yeah, no, obviously.
Connecting the dots, I should say.
Yep. You have a lot of connections there, so it makes sense. It's hard to know exactly what Canada's influence will be in the run game. I really don't know. Usually that's been handled by the offensive line coach. Obviously, Sean Surratt this year. Results probably weren't ideal, so I don't know if they're going to change the structure of those things. We'll find out there, but I think it was a good hire.
Let's see. Goes on. Would love to get input on some players over the next several weeks who could be draftable and the likely round they would be drafted. Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota, safety. Tyler Baidez, the center out of Wisconsin. He's an interesting prospect. Probably I don't know. Some people have him as the best true center in this draft class.
I think we just have a scouting report on him the other day from, I believe, Tom. Let's see where he projects Baidez to go. This came out on the 2nd. He's got a projection of late first, early second, actually, so really high on Baidez.
Yeah, ooh, that's a little strong, I think.
Yep, but that's what he's got.
He's also got Kenny Willix, a guy, defensive end, really an outside linebacker type, potentially out of Michigan State. You know anything about him? Alex?
Yeah, he was down at the Senior Bowl. I thought it was okay. I think he's trying to get comfortable playing as a stand-up guy. The linebacker coach for the Lions was really trying to work with him on his stance and getting comfortable and things like that. So there's an adjustment, which is to be recognized. Nothing about his game that I particularly seem to love. Not that I watch him super closely, but probably more of a mid-round type dude.
All right. I haven't watched anything on him yet. Leke Fotu, who we already talked about, Utah nose tackle, he has on his list here. Tyler Johnson, wide receiver out of Minnesota, and Marcus Bailey, a Purdue linebacker who was injured.
I don't know anything on Bailey. Johnson is a sleeper in a lot of kind of draft nick circles. Again, his receiver class is so loaded it's going to push some guys down, but that might be a guy that presents himself with excellent value.
Finally, just out of curiosity, do each of you have other jobs? If so, what do you do? Dave, you are around my age. Are you retired? Yes, I've been retired since my early 40s. I've been unemployable. No, I owned a couple of businesses beforehand. Did very well. Hit the real estate market right at the right time. Did well there. So no to me, and no, Alex has not had a job. I don't think Alex has ever had really a job. Have you? Period.
I kind of, sort of, not really. My first job was with my best friend in high school. His dad owned an HVAC business, and so I was working there, not really with HVAC stuff, but just other random odds and ends types. I was the worst person at that job, and that's a weird feeling. I think everyone should be the worst person at some sort of job just to have that feeling. And then in college,
were you the gopher?
Yeah, I was really just kind of doing whatever, just running around, or occasionally helping with HVAC stuff, but I was not very good at it. And then in college, I worked with our communication department, just like working in the facility there with like camera checkout and computer labs and stuff like that. So kind of real jobs, kind of not. And the NFL, then I got lucked into this. So I haven't really had a traditional job, I guess, so to speak.
And part two of that question is, do you both have journalism background? Daniel,
Dave has a master's. Right?
Daniel, have you seen me write or talk?
And you were on KDKA back in the
Lord, I have the opposite of a journalism background, whatever that is. Alex actually does have a little bit of a journalism, or at least schooling.
Yeah, I have a communications degree, Bachelor of Science, with a concentration in journalism from Clarion. The prestigious Clarion DT University. So there you go.
No journalism back. I have I graduated School of Hard Knocks for sure. Running the streets. That was my specialty. I'm
mad that I went to college though, because I don't think you required a college degree for this job, Dave.
I'm gonna need a copy of your diploma.
I spent a lot of money I didn't have to on going to college.
Boy, how great do you have it? Remind me, how great do you have it?
I'm very grateful and very lucky for the platform I have.
No, look, story about Alex. I ran across some of his work on, I think, a message board or something like that, and you could tell that he liked to pay attention to detail. Heck, I think he was like 18 at the time, weren't you? 17, 18, or what?
I think I just finished my sophomore year. I think it was the summer after my sophomore year of college. So I was probably like 20.
Oh, were you that old?
Not that old. I think whatever. I think I was probably like 19 or 20 years old.
Yeah, and reached out to him and all, and he started a couple. He was still obviously going to school at the time, so we had to kind of work around that. But I think it didn't take too long to tell that Alex wanted to go this direction and kind of make football and the Steelers his life, and slowly our relationship grew out of that, and it didn't take him long to kind of catch on how blogging worked and that kind of thing, and now, boy, Alex, you're a superstar now.
Oh, don't make me blush. 6,500 articles on my 65th. Oh, God, I can't say that. This is why I'm communications, not math. 6,500 articles written for Steelers Depot. So that was, very, very, very grateful.
Yeah, and let's see. Or did you decide to create an opportunity because of love the Steelers? Yeah. Look, I mean, I've always been kind of fascinated with the internet and how it works, and building websites and all that kind of become a hobby of mine to keep my mind active, and obviously love for the Steelers, lifelong love of the Steelers. All that kind of got put together. Blogging became kind of a thing back, had already slightly become the thing to do way back when I started about 2008 with Steelers Depot. Initially, SteelersDepot.com was kind of an affiliate site because I wanted to see, tinker with a few things on affiliate programs and building websites and playing with code and all like that. And then, not too long after that, I finally got away with dealing with humans in the real world. for good. And I said, you know what, it'd be kind of fun to turn this thing into a blog. And here we are, 12 years later.
Yeah, time flies, but having a lot of fun.
Let's see. He says, really dumb idea. Ever consider having a listener join once a week during the off season for a few minutes, similar to team staff, writer section, and discuss various topics? It's just, look, it's so hard, we try to keep this thing kind of as structured as possible, and you just never know what you're going to get on the other end. We try to do interviews, obviously, with beat writers during the season, try to have maybe a staff member or two on during the season, but the whole football calendar, the way it moves and all, makes it kind of tough to insert other aspects of it. I'm not going to say it'll never happen. It just isn't in our plans right now.
Yeah, I think logistically that could be tough. Not even just you never know what you're going to get from the person, but like, is their connection going to be good? Are they going to be reliable? Are they going to show up? And then you trying to splice it together. It's just probably not something that's in the cards right now.
Yeah, it's probably not. All right, what else? I think that's enough that I have right there in the email box today.
All right, that's everything I have. So we'll be back on Friday to talk about. I have no idea what we're going to talk about Friday. We'll figure something out though.
Yeah, we'll see if anything newsy happens between now and then. Obviously, you and I will be back in Tampa. I've been watching a little bit of this Georgia guard the last couple of days. Solomon Kinley. You watch any of him yet?
No, but I've heard good things. You like him?
Yeah. Initial tape. I think I watched the Georgia offensive line tape against LSU, and this is an underclassman with a little bit of age on him because I think he redshirted his freshman season there, but technically he's coming out as an underclassman. Seems to be a good kid. Played left guard there at Georgia, so I'll be digging into him a little bit more later today as well. And I hope to kind of have a mock draft put together and out before I head off back to Florida next week as well too. So in the meantime, until Friday, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigation on the bar. Obviously, if you'd like a ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com for $25 for 1 calendar year, you can have one of those. It's been real popular lately as well, too. Go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the ad-free button up right navigational bar. Alex, I appreciate your time on this Wednesday. You and I will do it again on Friday. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.